I would pursue this hobby for more than 40 years. Using state-of-the-art equipment, I played for hundreds of dances. I was known as Mr. Music, both in Canada and Australia. In 1948, I moved to Lethbridge to work in an ice cream parlor. This was a far cry from working in the automotive field, but the pay was better, and so was the opportunity for advancements. While living in Lethbridge, I gained my testimony of the gospel. I met a young man there, about my age, who had just been saved. He was headed for a big conference of born-again Christians. I just about went with him. I always believed our church was true, but now I had to know. I took up Nephi's challenge to read the Book of Mormon with a sincere desire to know the truth. I became so involved in reading, it's hard to explain. I just couldn't put the book down. It was difficult reading through the tears. Verse after verse brought greater understanding to my soul. One evening, while strolling through Henderson Park, I found myself kneeling in prayer, hoping to receive my own personal manifestation. Then the thought came into my mind, I was looking for a sign. I was a sign seeker. My prayer took on a new intensity as I begged for forgiveness. After all I had read, the feelings that I had received, what greater manifestation could one expect? Then a warm feeling came over my entire body. I knew I had been forgiven, and I also knew beyond any doubt that the church was true. In 1949, with the help of Mother, we moved back to Cardston and our old store to start Bill's Ice Cream. I remember one of the first major decisions we had to make. Should we raise the price of an ice cream cone from 5 to 6 cents? We operated this very successful business for 10 years. It was in the fall of 1950 when I met the girl that I would marry. Gordon Sloan had a date with Dorothy Wolfe to attend a state youth conference. Gordon was trying to set up a blind date over the phone between myself and Dorothy's cousin and good friend Gene Olson, whom I had never even seen. I was protesting vigorously that if he did make the date, I wouldn't go. I had been stuck on blind dates before. I was relieved when Gene turned down the proposed date. So I ended up going to the meeting as a tag-along with Gordon and Dorothy. We had just taken our seats in the old tabernacle when Gordon gave me a little jab. Do you want to see what she looks like? Well, she's just a few seats over. I slowly bent forward to take a look down the row. Gene had just performed the same maneuver. When our eyes met that first time, my heart literally stopped beating, and I had great difficulty catching my breath. I had no way of knowing what this beautiful young lady was thinking. As for myself, it was love at first sight.
I, Jean Vance Olson, was born the 22nd of November, 1932, in the Cardston Municipal Hospital. At the time of my birth, my parents, Benjamin Franklin Olson and Emma Amelia Vance Olson, lived in Alberta. They, along with my brothers and sisters, Gladys E. and Margaret Emma, Gordon Vance, Norma, and Benny Lamar. I was the seventh in our family. My oldest brother Melvin passed away at 3. He was run over by a water. As the time of my birth drew near, my mother left her family in Hillspring and came to Cardston to await my arrival. She stayed with my grandparents, Benjamin Franklin Olson Sr. and Zetta Clark Olson. Lived in one of the first pre-packaged homes built in Cardston, and it was near the hospital. The weather was cold and snowy, so it was comforting for all concerned to be near and not to have to make a mad dash in the cold conditions. They tell me that everyone spoiled me, and Mom said that I had my days and nights mixed up, for I would sleep all day and stay awake all night. It's too bad they didn't think to feed me a little more, and I would have been a lot happier. I was the baby Jesus in the Christmas program that year, and believe it or not, I never made a sound. My sisters Gladys and Margaret would play house. I was usually their baby. My cousin Hazel told me 58 years later that she dropped me on my head while she was playing with me. I wonder if that's why I always had a bad neck. I don't recollect anything about Hillspring. My father decided he would rather work at the Ellison Milling Company than full-time on the farm, so we moved to Cardston. We lived in the cook house when my brother Wayne was born, the 3rd of February, 1935. A few years later, Dad bought the house east of the Presbyterian Church. While living there, July 31st, 1939, my youngest brother Merlin was born. That same year, Grandpa Olson died. This left Grandma all alone in the big house. Arrangements, and built his mother a smaller home right next door. Our family then occupied a much-needed larger home. A big day in our lives. Wayne and I in our first airplane ride. Some of my first recollections come to mind. Everyone was away for a short time, and I wanted to surprise Mom by cleaning up the kitchen and the dishes. I really had good intentions, but while I was on top of the cupboard putting things away, someone came in and caught me in the act. I dropped and broke a dish. Mom never scolded me, for which I was ever grateful. Another thing I remember, as it came time for me to start school, I wasn't able to go with my friends because my birthday came after the deadline of September 1st. I guess I was so unhappy that my parents persuaded the principal to let me start school regardless. When I did go, Mother had to take me every day to make sure I got there on time. I enjoyed school more as time went on. In grade 1, I had a boyfriend who pedaled me home on his tricycle just about every day. In grade 2, everyone thought I was Miss Sheffield's pet. And as I went into grade 3, I struggled throughout that year trying to improve my grades. But at the end of the year, my teacher wrote on my report card, "Jean is a little too young for her grade. I believe she would benefit greatly by repeating grade 3. She is a hard worker." This upset me to know I wouldn't be with my friends, but my parents convinced me that it wasn't all that bad. I would still have my old buddies and would be able to make more friends in my new class. As I grew, so did my hair. For within 6 years, my hair had grown past my waist. My long pigtails got me into lots of trouble, for the boys at school loved to pull them and stick them into the inkwells. All through those years, my mother would never let me wear my hair loose. She would braid it every day. In the summer of 1942, my cousin Dorothy and Aunt Vivian Wolfe moved to town from Glenwood to live with Grandma Olson. Dorothy's father had died, leaving her and Aunt Vivian alone. Dorothy was just a few months older than myself, and we became great pals and have been close all our lives. Because of my long hair, others had power over me. My older sister Norma would chase me all over the house, and if I was lucky to get outside, she'd chase me all over the yard. When caught, she would drag me back into the house by my pigtails to do the dishes. When I was 13, it was decided I should get my hair cut. I was having a lot of head problems, and everyone thought it was the weight of my hair. So Mom made an appointment with Lula Snow to do the dreaded deed. She braided my hair for the last time and tied an elastic around my braids to the point of where I wanted it cut. It seemed it took forever to cut through those braids. I cringed with every chomp the scissors made, and at last the ordeal was over. Tearfully, I beheld my braids in my hands. Then I had my first perm. Fun times I remember at home were when Dad would come from the elevator with a big pocket full of money. He told us kids we could have all the money if we would guess the exact amount. Sometimes we'd get close, but not quite close enough, and no one ever got the cash. Our meal times were always fun when the boys were around. There were always jokes being told, and we'd laugh until we were sick. Traditionally, our aunts and uncles would get together to visit. It was special to be able to join in their singing. I guess that's where my appreciation of music started. I wish now I had continued with my piano lessons, for I can see what my family have missed with me not able to play. I have always enjoyed singing, thanks to my parents and family who encouraged me. In 1948, Mrs. Thelma Smith got me involved singing in a girls' trio. It consisted of Beverly Atkins, Gwen Broadhead, and myself. With Mrs. Smith practicing just about every day with us, we received many invitations to sing. During the next 2 years, we traveled to Calgary and Lethbridge to sing at Lions conventions and other large programs. In 1950, Connie Lishman replaced Gwen, and there again we learned many songs and were asked to sing at various programs. One time, we were privileged to sing in the temple for a very special assembly. We sang on the radio, Benny's talent show, and after that we were asked to sing at many large banquets and programs, including the high school graduation. When Gordon came home from his mission, he, Dick and Bob Lowe, and Leo Davidson started a men's quartet. They were often asked to sing at the same programs as we were. Gordon and all his mission buddies put on a South Sea Island musical called Gaia Thea. I can still remember most of the chants and songs.